Um, so, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about uh, Georgia O'Keeffe, and she was a painter. She lived to be 98 years old, and she was a painter back in in the U.S. in the Midwest, and she's known for her flowers, for doing close-ups of flowers. So today we're going to be doing some close-ups of flowers. And before I start, since it's for right now, Alyssa, it's just you, are you going to be painting or are you going to be coloring? Will you, will you be painting? And let me ask you also, did you, were you able to get the packet of information that has these materials? Yes? Okay, good. All right. So we're going to, why don't I just tell you just a little bit about Georgia O'Keeffe, and I'll show you some photographs of some of her paintings. And let me share my screen so that you can see. Oh, here we are. So one of the things she loved color and shape and line. So these are some of the paintings that she did. This was early on in her life, this was like in 1913, and this was in 1928. And she loved organic lines. So you can see in this one that there are a lot of sort of curves and swirls. And the one here on the left here, same thing, just a lot of sort of curl, swirly shapes. And she also liked to use colors that were analogous meaning colors that were next to each other. So for example, here, you've got sort of the light blue, and next to, on the color wheel, next to blue is green, and next to green is yellow. Next to blue on the other side of the color wheel is sort of a bluish purple. So she did a lot of her paintings using colors that were next to each other on the color wheel. Actually, let me just show you a picture of what analogous colors look like, because we're going to be doing some of that. So here are, here's the color wheel that shows analogous colors. So here's an example of ones that have red and orange, you know, between red and yellow. And here are some that have, that are the colors between blue and yellow. So yellow, light green, green, and you could also go over to the blues. And then here are the colors that are between blues and reds. So blue and sort of a violet, and then purple, and then of course as you get closer to the red. So those are colors that are called analogous colors. And so we're going to be using some of those colors today, if you want. Before we start painting, I thought that I would just do an exercise that I've been doing with a lot of my art workshops, that it just helps get going with any kind of art activity, and it sort of helps get you calm and relaxed. And it just so happens that this exercise is a way of starting designs that look very much like some of Georgia O'Keeffe's flowers. So I'm going to put aside all of these. Alyssa, do you have just a plain piece of paper and a pen or pencil? Do you? Yeah, okay, good. All right. So I'm going to, let me just spotlight, I'm going to spotlight my piece of paper, and I'm actually going to use a marker. but you can use a pencil or a pen, or I think you had a marker. So this is called breathe and draw, breathing and drawing. And the idea is that when you make a line going in one direction, you breathe in, and then when you make a line in the other direction, you breathe out. And just that that slow breathing is a wonderful way of just calming your mind and getting centered. So we're going to do this maybe 6 times, and I'm going to start first with just a circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, it's just the center. And then I'm going to breathe in when I draw this line. And then I'm going to breathe out when I bring it back. And then starting anywhere on any one of these lines, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to breathe in and then breathe out. And I stop when I get to another line. And I'm doing the same thing again. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. I'm just going to do 2 more because sometimes if you do it too much, you can get a little dizzy. And if you ever get dizzy, you need to stop for a little bit. This time I'm going to do a little squigglier line. Breathe in and breathe out. And finally, this last breathe and draw, breathe in and out. So you can do this. I'm making petal shapes because I like the way that looks, but you can do straight lines. When you're doing this exercise, you can do almost any line that you feel like drawing. And the point is that when you draw a line one way, you breathe in, and when you draw a line the other way, you breathe out. And you do it about 5 or 6 times. I'm just going to show an example of some of the exercises that I've done in the last couple days. And these were doing straight lines here. That was not one of those. Here was another one, a breathe and draw. And then I just colored them in with markers. So it's a fun exercise to do. And then after you do that, you can just continue to make lines in any way you like. And I'm doing this one here because it is somewhat in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe, with these swirly lines. And I'm going to draw a petal off of this flower that it turned out to be. I didn't really plan on it being a flower, but I'm just drawing a petal that goes behind the flower part. And I'm not going to use this right now for the rest of this particular class, but I want to show you something. And that is, if you ever want, this is a trick for in the future, but Georgia O'Keeffe very often, in these sample pages, you'll see that her lines went off the canvas, you know? So this is part of a flower here. This is, the real flower was probably this big, but she cropped it. Same with this one. You see the edges here, but you don't see the rest of the edges of the flower on this side or on this side. So she was known for having um, her flowers sort of go off the canvas. And you can do that if you had two L-shaped, I have two L-shaped pieces. And if you put them together, you can make like a window. And if I wanted to, I could crop this. It's actually a way of cropping, of visually cropping. And then if I wanted to turn this into a Georgia O'Keeffe style drawing, I could just move this around until I liked the way it looked. And then I could take a pencil and draw the square around it. And then with some scissors, I could cut along those lines. And then I would have an outline of a flower that I could either use markers with, or colored pencils, or paints. Because this is fairly thin paper, I would probably use colors, markers, or paints. But since we're painting today, we can start with that. Oh, before I do that, and you know, Alyssa, we're recording this so that other people can see this at another time. But these printouts that I included in your packet for today have things that you can color in if you didn't want to be making your own lines. And I'm just going to do a little demonstration here for the recording to show these analogous colors. Why don't I first show, again, I'm going to just show some of her paintings. And you can see, again, that the analogous colors that she used in this one were blues. So the colors between blue and yellow. So there's blue, and then there's sort of an aqua, and then there's a green, and there's a yellow. And then for this one, she used colors that were more closer to the pinks and the blues. This one here, she used the colors that were between the yellows and the reds. So if I were to want to do something, I'm using these colors, and this is on the left side. On the one side of the blue is the green, and on the other side of the blue is sort of the purple. And I'm not going to do this whole thing, but just as a demonstration, I could fill in some of these. Just coloring is a very relaxing thing to do. And I could color this in using these colors. And you sort of get the idea of that. If I wanted to use different colors on the color wheel that were analogous, then I could use yellow, orange, and then the pink. And again, just filling in some of these lines here, these shapes. Georgia O'Keeffe just loved color and shape.
Hi, Kathy. I'm just stealing post ship for a minute to let people in.
Oh, I hadn't seen anybody wanting to get in.
Sarah's been trying to get in for about 20 minutes.
Oh, she doesn't. I'm sorry. I didn't see her.
It's okay. I'm giving host ship back.
Thank you, Mary. I'll be already out there.
And hi, guys.
Hi. Sarah, are you on?
Hello, thank you.
Hi, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Hi. That's
You know,
okay. Chair. Go get Leah's chair. Okay. Oh, Leah's chair's right there. Get my hold on. Sorry. Go. Okay. All right, I'm back. I'll sit right here. You can sit wherever you want. Right.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording just for a sec. Start recording again. What I'm demonstrating now is the fact that she used analogous colors a lot in her paintings. So analogous colors are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And when you joined, I was just showing these analogous colors. So it's actually the yellow, the orange, and the pink are next to each other. And then I'm showing an example of using different analogous colors, which are colors on either side of blue. So blue and green and sort of a purplish, and using that for coloring in this. And I was just demonstrating that so that if you want to color in, then you can use these samples for coloring in the style of Georgia O'Keeffe. And then before that, Sarah, I'm just going to show very briefly, I did this exercise, which is called, it's called Breathe and Draw. And I did a drawing. I'm not going to do it again, but the idea is that with a pencil or a marker or anything, you start with a circle, and then you breathe in when you go in one direction, and then you breathe out when you go in another direction. And then you do it again. Breathe in, and then breathe out. And you probably don't want to do it more than 5 times or so, because if you do it too frequently, you can start feeling dizzy. And if you ever feel dizzy, then you should stop. But it is a way of getting yourself very relaxed and centered. And I find it to be a great way of getting myself into the mind of being an artist. So, and then after I did that, which is what this looked like, then I drew a couple of other lines because I saw that I was doing mostly a flower. And, but then I said, well, Georgia O'Keeffe, most of her flowers the petals went off the page. So what I did was I was showing about a way that you can do some cropping. And there's just 2 pieces of cardboard that are stuck to each other, you know, at right angles. And I have one here and I have another one just like it here. And if you put and if you put them together like this, then you get like a viewfinder. And
Interesting.
and yes, it's like it's cropping.
Let's say let Sage color this thing later. I'm gonna let Sage color this thing later.
Yeah, you can do it whenever you want. I'm just explaining
Yeah,
to you.
Get too. She can do it later. We'll do the class
Yep.
later. We'll watch the
Yep.
video.
Okay. So and then I did the draw. I drew a square around it and I cut it up. And then I had a drawing that if I wanted to, I could color that in either with markers or colored pencils. But for today, we're going to do some painting. And Alyssa is all set up. So let's just get all those materials together. And I'm looking for my paper. I included in your packs for the rest of this month, I included some nice quality, heavy, it's actually watercolor paper, but it's
yeah, I have some run out.
Yeah, it's pretty sturdy and it takes the paint pretty well.
Do you want yours?
Again, with painting, you want to have water available so you can always keep your brush clean. You want to have paper towels or rags or something that you can dry your brush on when you're cleaning it. So you have that. You want your brushes. For today, we're going to, I'm going to use a marker, but you can use a pencil. I like dark lines, which is why I use markers. And then paints. So the paints that I'm using today is I'm just using primary colors. I'm using blue and yellow. And instead of using red, I'm going to use magenta. And then I have white because it's acrylic. I have white if I want to have a lighter color. So I'm going to prepare. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do my drawing sort of in the style of what we just did. So I'm not going to do the breathing exercise because I don't want to get dizzy and I've already nice and relaxed. But I'm going to start with a center of a flower. And I'm doing a circle of sorts. And then I'm going to do some lines, and I'm going to take the lines all the way to the end for some of these petals. Because that makes it look like it's a close-up, right? And like I showed in, let me just show you again, this this painting of hers. She used a lot of swirly lines. Sort of, I call them leafy shapes. So I'm going to do some of those too.
Your drawing's good, Kathy.
Well, thank you. You know, I just, when I'm relaxed in particular, it really does help for me to do that breathe and draw exercise. All I'm doing is I'm just making lines and I'm making them sort of join each other. So I'll make a line and then I'll have it go maybe to another line. And I'm just drawing one sort of smooth.
I do that too. I draw and then I just do.
Yeah.
The same thing.
And then you can also, like sometimes petals go behind each other. So to make something go behind it, you go up to that line here, and then you have it keep going. And because this one looks like it's in front now. And I think I'm going to have another petal go down and go under those. So I stop here because it's going behind it, and then I finish. And then I do the same thing. I go up and I have those be in the front, and then I continue here. And you know, Georgia O'Keeffe's flowers, they looked like flowers, but they didn't look exactly like flowers. They didn't look like photographs of flowers. So, you know, she had a lot of, there was an abstract quality to it. So there's no reason why you can't just make lines in any way that you want. And you don't have to worry about whether or not it looks exactly like what it is that you might be trying to portray. And again, I'm going to have this one go behind. Now, if you're using acrylic paint, the acrylic paint, depending on the kind of paint, you can always color over. You can always paint over. So now I've done my initial drawing, and I'm going to sort of turn it around and see which way I like it. And this is something that artists often do, is it's sort of a way of sort of looking at your composition and figuring out, gee, which way do you want it to be up? And I think I'm going to have it be up the way that I started. No, actually, no. I'm changing my mind. I like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stem in somewhere. So I'll put the stem here. And I think I'll just put in one more petal to fill in this empty space here. Now, what I'm going to do in the middle, that's a pretty big circle that I made. And I'm going to, this sort of looks like a sunflower. So I'm going to show you a picture of a sunflower. Here's a picture of a sunflower. Just so I get an idea of what the possibilities are that I could put in the middle of it. And I see that there's some jagged marks in the middle. Those are actually the seeds. So I'm going to get some ideas from that. Now these actually are not the swirly lines that Georgia O'Keeffe is well known for, but that's okay. I don't have to do exactly what she did. I'm just using her as an inspiration. And then I think I'm going to put some small circles, not circles, petal-looking shapes in the middle, just to make it interesting. And now I'm ready to paint. How's everybody doing?
Good.
You're okay? How are you doing, Melissa? Oh, lovely, lovely. I love what you did. You filled in those those drawings with incredible marks. Alyssa, can I just I'm going to stop sharing, and if you don't mind, can I get a screenshot of that? Can you hold it up again? That is really lovely. Okay, thank you. I got a screenshot of it. You know,
And
that reminds me of something that we're going to be doing. Blake Shelton. Peter. Are these people that you know? You know, Alyssa, the drawings that you just did remind me of something that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks, which is sort of doing drawings in Zentangle style. And you've already beat me to it.
yay, I'm very excited.
How are you doing, Sarah?
Good. I'm just throwing my flowers right now. I did sunflowers. Now I'm doing a liquor flower. And Sage just is
Okay.
painting away. Just doing her own painting.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to put my paints. I have a plastic plate that I use as my palette,
Nice.
and I squeeze a little bit of paint. I don't use too much paint.
I don't either.
Because, you know, because with acrylic paint, once it dries, you can't use it. So if you use too much and you don't keep it moist, it'll dry out and then it's wasted. So.
We're using watercolor paint right now. Sage is using
Watercolor is perfect for this also.
That's what I'm doing. Watercolor.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you can use anything. So I'm going to be using analogous colors for this. So you might wonder why I'm putting all of the 3 primary colors out. And it's because I don't really know exactly what I'm doing yet. And I want to be prepared. So, I'm also going to put some white. Where is my white? Here's my white. So I can have some pastel. All right. So since I decided to do sort of a sunflower kind of a flower, I think I will use mostly yellows and oranges. So I'm taking a little bit of my yellow from here and I'm putting it in the middle. I'm rinsing my brush in between before I put it in the pink so that I can get an orangey color. And actually what I'm going to do is use a different brush to mix these colors. Actually, one thing that you can do is you don't mix it completely. So here, I don't know if you can really see, you can't really see very well because I've got a lot of other colors already on here, but I've got the yellow on this side and the pink on this side. So I'm going to start painting in. And I tend to not mix the colors completely on the palette because I like it when there's just a little bit of, when there's a little yellow and a little orange and they're, let me just show you close up here. But you see it's not completely orange. There's a little yellow and then there's a little orange in this petal. that are a little separate from each other. And that can give a very vibrant effect. I'm actually going to, since we're using watercolor paper, this will be able to handle some diluted paint. So I'm going to dilute the paint a little bit. This is pretty thick, this acrylic paint. So I'm going to dilute it. It'll let my paints go a little farther. And I'm just going to go around with this particular painting, and I'm going to use up all of this paint before it dries. So I may do the other petals a different color. Now, Georgia O'Keeffe did not have dark lines in between each of her shapes. So I'm painting in between the lines just because I like that look. But if I went over the lines and I covered them up, that would be totally fine as well. If I'd wanted to cover up those lines, though, I probably would have used a pencil and not a heavy marker. Well, I'm starting to get into the pink. I'm going to save some of these petal-looking things to have them look more like leaves. So I'll be making greens, sort of a light green. Okay, I'm going to clean this brush out. I know you're all experienced acrylic paint users, but for those who might be watching and doing this at a different time, it's really important to keep your brushes clean and to make sure that you don't let the paint dry on anything, because once the paint dries, it's basically almost impossible to clean up.
And you can't reuse it. It's hard. I
No.
tried.
No, you can't reuse it, and you also can't. it's very hard to clean because acrylic paint, you know, the acrylic, it's actually, um, it's a plastic. And when it dries, it really is like plastic.
It is.
So I'm going to use a little bit of green, but because I want to keep a little bit of the sort of the yellow and pink that I used in the other part of my palette, I'm going to pick up a little of that pink and put it in the green. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of white as well. Put a little more yellow in. Might put more yellow in. Might put a little pink in. There. And now I have brown. Oh dear. That's not what I expected. And I am not happy with the way that looks. So fortunately, with acrylic paint, you can paint over it once it dries. So that was an experiment that did not work, which is not a problem. And you know what? I should have known that. I think during one of our other classes, we talked about how to make browns. And the way that you make a brown is that you mix the primary colors together and you get brown. And that's a good trick to use if you don't happen to have brown paint. And I'm much happier, much happier with this color. I'm going to keep in mind, you know, that brown that I made that I don't like? Once this is dry, oh,
Station,
let's see.
Together. Station, I can do this together.
Let me see. Okay. You know what? Let me spotlight you so I can get a.
I put glitter on it. I'm putting glitter on it afterwards.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hold on a second. I have to, let me unspotlight so I can spotlight you. And now I want to get a picture. Sarah, can you hold it just a little bit?
Here, is that better?
Yeah, just pull it back just a tad.
Is that better?
That's, yes, excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
So you did that together?
We're going to do them together. We're going to put glitter on both of ours. I'm going to have to go get glue so we can put glitter on it.
Alyssa, how are you doing? Oh, you're putting in green. Is that green that you're putting in? Lovely, lovely. I just love those extra dots that you put in the, and that is a picture of Blake Shelton, who I don't know, but, and Peter. Nice. All right, let me. I really like this green that I came up with. I'm just going to put it in other parts of the painting to bring the eye in. Also, I don't like to waste any paint on my palette. Now, let me just see how this is going to work. If I can cover this up, and I can. One thing that you can do if you're using watercolor, I know Sarah, you're using, I mean, not watercolor. Sarah, I know you're using watercolor today, but if you're using acrylic paint and you don't, and you're doing a painting that's going to take, might take you an hour or so, and you don't want the paint to dry out, is that you can use a spray bottle, and then every
Yeah.
once in a while just spray it, and that'll keep it moist.
Yeah, I take a tray and I put another thing over it and I tray over it and then we can dry up.
Yep, exactly.
Right now we're using glitter.
Uh-huh. So the
Glitter.
glitter, does the glitter stick to the paint?
We're using glue.
Or you're putting glue on first? Uh-huh.
No, hold on. Can I show you your painting? I'll show you it. No!
Okay.
Can we show her? Hold on.
Ooh, that's a beautiful paint set you have.
Thank you. Yeah, Michael's.
Yeah, Michael's is a great shop.
We get it for you. I like Michael's. That's where I shop. You want yellow. I want yellow. I have different shades of glitter and everything. My friend sent this to me. But for when they use it with sage. And it does stick with you have watercolor paint, it does stick with the watercolor paint.
Does it?
It does. Somewhat. Sage, give me your hand. Oh, you know. Yellow. Blue. You didn't do blue, did you? You did blue. Nope. You don't have blue. I don't do blue. No blue. Okay. Here, give me your hand. Sprinkle some on too.
So if you can see, remember when I was doing the drawing, actually you weren't here, Sarah, but when I was doing the breathe and draw exercise, I wanted some of the petals to go behind other petals. So I would draw a line and then stop and then continue to draw the line from underneath. And now it's making it very clear because I'm doing the same thing with the color. Last week when we were painting in the style of Picasso. And one of the things I was talking about is the difference between when you're painting wet in wet. So if you have, paint that hasn't dried yet, and you mix it, you have paint that isn't dry, and then you mix it with paint that's obviously not dry on your brush, you can get a different effect. So what I just did here was this green, it doesn't show very well, but this green was still wet, and then I took some wet yellow, and then I just get a different kind of blending. And I think that for the middle.
That's what it looks like with glitter on it, with glue so far.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Over the flowers.
Yeah.
It looks like it's raining glitter.
Or it could be, you know, the glitter part could be like, you know, after it rains and there's water on something,
Yeah.
and then the sun comes out and it lights it up.
Mm. That's a good idea.
You know, that's the effect that it has.
I love glitter.
Yeah, I like the looks of glitter. I don't like things that are messy. So I tend to not use it very much because
There for a present, so I'm using it.
yeah, well, you absolutely should use it if you have it.
I'm using it outside.
Oh, well, there you go. Then you don't have to worry.
My deck, it's fine. It's on my front porch, it's fine. So my art studio,
Yeah.
we're fine. So I get a real art studio. I'm using this for right now. Yeah, it's hearts and stars and hearts. This is what it is. This is what I have.
Oh, so can you like dial
You can spin it
around?
colors.
Uh-huh.
It's fun. And it looks like this when it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh my goodness, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea that so much time had passed. Well, I think we're going to have to stop, but you can continue working on your art. And actually, what I'd love to do is to get, let me hold on a second. I'll spotlight and then I can get a screenshot. Yeah, tilt it a little bit forward, Sarah. There,
Like
perfect, perfect. Excellent. Let me get another one. Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
And Alyssa, can I spotlight you again and see?
Okay, time to pick up. Cut Sage. Okay.
I just love that. I just love that. I love those dots. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, well, thank you. So let's see, next week, I think we're doing collage.
Yay!
Thank you, Alyssa. Yes, we're doing collage, and you should have in your packs a lot of different kinds of paper. Is that right?
Okay.
Let me just look and see what we got. So next week, yep. So you have a pack of, let me spotlight.
You spotlighted Elissa. There we go.
Okay.
Yep, Elissa.
There we go.
Spotlight.
Okay. So you have a pack, and you have a piece of another good quality piece of paper, and then you have a pack of all different colored paper. And so you'll need scissors and glue. And I think you all have glue sticks. If you don't have glue sticks, that's fine. You can also use like the Elmer's glue, the liquid